Hello everybody, Simoza Kalua here. In this video, we're going to implement the domain layer of a system. We're going to bring in the entities. Now the domain layer, as discussed previously, is just the part of our application that deals with domain-specific logic. And let's see how we can implement that in our video. Okay, so in this video, we're going to implement our domain logic. We're building a movie rental system. So the question that we should be asking ourselves is, what do we need in order to rent a movie? So I've built the ER diagram here just to help us in that process. So at a bare minimum, for someone to rent a movie, we need to have their details. In other words, they have to be a member. So we need to keep their member details, which we have over here in this container over there. Now, in order for you to rent a movie, we need to have a rental details. And that rental detail will be tied to, 1, a member, and 2, it will be tied to a movie. So in this case, a member can have multiple rentals. And this will form what we call a one-to-many relationship, right? And then multiple rentals could have multiple movies. These two, the movie and the rental, are going to form what we call a many-to-many relationship. Now, for one-to-many, entity framework has a way that it handles that, but for many-to-many, entity framework does not have a way to directly handle that relationship. So we need to break that down into what we call a weaker entity table. So you will see there's a table here called movie rental. We've just appended the names of these two tables. And we've just put in their respective primary keys to be in that table. All right. Now, the next question would be, how would we now take this information and then implement it in code using an entity framework? So first of all, let's start with the member. We're going to create a class in our code member, and we're going to use Fluent API. There's data annotations and Fluent APIs. I've used data annotations extensively in my career, but I feel like Fluent APIs are more flexible, and we're going to use them in this video series so that you also get to appreciate them. So we're going to have a member. A member has a member ID that uniquely identifies them. They've got a first name, last name, and an email. That's what they have. It ends there. I want you to pause first on those two, rental ID and the rental. Now, a member is tied to a rental, right? Let's go to a rental. A rental would have a rental ID, the date it was rented, when it expires, the total cost, because you could rent multiple movies. It ends there. Now, how do you link the one-to-many in this scenario? If you go to the movie, we've said, get us the rent ID. That would be the foreign key, which represents a primary key in another table that links. And then we're going to have an object of the rental. This will be more like what we call a navigation property. So on this object, we'll be able to navigate into that rental and actually get our foreign key. On the other hand, in the rental class, we're going to have a list of members saying, well, you can have many, so that's where the many comes into play. Okay. From the class rental, we've got the movie class. And the movie class has the movie ID, the name of the movie, the rental cost, and the duration of the movie. All right. But a movie is tied to a rental entity in a many-to-many relationship, and we said we're going to have another table. So the other table is just going to be a movie rental, which has two things: the respective primary keys of those tables that have a many-to-many relationship. In this case, we've got the movie ID and the movie rental. And if you go to the and if you go to the movie class, you see there's a list there of movie rentals. That class we've created, that entity, this thing should also be repeated in the rental class, which here you have a movie rentals. So by doing that, we have created our relationships. But we said we're going to use entity framework Fluent API for these relationships. So how would you do that? Now, in a previous video, we brought in entity framework into our application, and we did that via the database context, which we'll also see again when we get into code. We'll see that for you to implement a one-to-many relationship, which is the member and the rental, you're going to say, get me the member object, it has 1 rental, 2 with many members, okay? And link that via foreign key rental ID. So pretty much once you do this, it knows that that's a one-to-many relationship over the renter and the members. All right. And here, these are 2 tables that we want to create. Okay. So that's how you do a one-to-many. How do we do a many-to-many relationship? What you're going to do is you're going to, so this we've seen already. It's this. You're going to say, get me the movie rental, and just say it has key. In that key, just get an anonymous object and give it those 2 IDs. And these are tables we want to create: members, rentals, movies, and movie rentals. So at this juncture, let's head over to Visual Studio and actually code this. So here we are. Let's go to the domain layer, and we're going to add a class. I click add a class. We're going to start with member. So member, make that public, and we need to have a property member ID. All right, I'm gonna have a string first name. So add the string to empty over there. All right, and then prop, we need to have the last name. You might as well put the string to empty, like so, and string email, string to empty. There we go. And then how do we link to the, so linking one-to-many. All right, so we're going to have, so for us to link the rent table, we're going to use the rental ID, right? And also we need to have the rental, right? You could call this rental, but now it's going to throw an error because the rent doesn't exist, which is fine. All right, then I want you to go there, control dot, and tell it to control dot to create, generate a new type in a new file, like so. Now, there we have it. We have our rental, and this has a rental ID. It should have date time, rental date, and we need to know the time, rental expiry. You can just put a movie, you have to give it back at a point in time, and you would have multiple rentals. So I want you to have a decimal of total cost. All right, now how do we link the one-to-many relationship? Okay, so this is a series, so it means I'm going to put it is the same GitHub repo, but you're going to use different commit messages. For this one, I will show you as I check out, so that you could just get that commit and I have access to the source code. So for you to have this, let's use an I collection of what? Obviously member, right? And then members. I don't know why I didn't use a snippet, but that's fine. All right, so we have successfully linked a one-to-many. And the next thing to do is now we need to go to the movie class. So if you watched the last video, we had something to do with the movie. I'm going to remove all that. So int movie ID, and you're gonna have a movie name. I could do a string that empty, and then give me a decimal. Each movie needs to have a rental cost. All right, and each movie should have number of days, rental duration. We're going to use number of days as our business case. And then we know that a movie has a man-to-man relationship. And for us to have a man-to-man relationships, entity framework doesn't give us that capacity, so we're going to have to bring another wiki entity, so another table. Okay. And all you call it is, you call it, so it's an IList. We're going to call it movie rental. And it's not yet made, so it should give us an error. At least so, movie rentals. So if it gives us an error, then we have to create that control dot, create new in a new file. All right. And since this is movies and rentals, then I expect the rentals to also have the same, which is going to signify two different many. And then in this movie rental, we just want to bring in prop, and you want to bring in rental ID, and you want to bring in prop movie ID. And yeah, so we've got our 4 tables. So what's next? The next thing is for us to go to our database context. Now the question would be, the domain only handles this. So that's very true. So pretty much you're done with the domain at this point. Because the domain is things that you want to use in your application with or without a software. So at this point, your domain is done. But I want us to take it one step further and just run a migration so that we are going to see an actual database being created only for that purpose. But for all manners, this has been done. So if you look at our infrastructure, that's where you have your context. Okay. Again, it's in architecture. We're using separate concerns. So anything to do with data access will be done here. All right. And the good thing is infrastructure depends on application. Application depends on domain. So it means we have access to that via a transient dependency. So we said, first of all, we need to override a model builder, which will give us access to the Fluent API. So type override and then on model creating. So you're saying, as you are creating a model, okay, I want you to do the following. Okay, so if you do nothing, this happens. It just creates the base. But if you override something, you're telling it, I want to override that functionality. I want to put whatever I want to put. So in our case, we want to have a functionality that, first of all, let's start with one-to-many. One-to-many. This is for the member and rentals. Member and rentals. So get me the model builder there. It's what we're trying to say there. Get me the model builder. And once you do, I want you to get me an entity. And this entity is what entity do you want to pair with? And you want to use member. And it's even possible to start with the rentals. And then it's possible. It's just that I'm using a member here. So don't limit yourself. Okay. Then tell it has one. It has one. One what? Now this text is generic. It has one what? It has one rental. Okay. Okay, so where is the rental located? Okay, so give me that lambda. So it has one rental. Fine. With many. All right, many what? So we would use S, we would use R with many what? Members. Okay, what else do we have? It has a foreign key because now you want to link it. So what's our foreign key in our scenario? It's in that table, get me rental ID. And trust me, you have done your one-to-one. You want to many. Now I want to do the many to many. Many, then many to many. And this will be rental and movie. Okay, again, give me the model builder. On that model builder, I want you to afford me the entity. And what entity is that? That entity will be rental. Right. And what do you want to do? You said it has key. Okay, and this could be SR, this could be SRK. Let's just put SR. We could put a G. So new, and G dot. It has a rental ID as well as G dot there, movie ID. Right, that movie ID. G dot movie ID. Can I find that? And for some reason I cannot find that. Rental ID and movie ID. Just a minute. What could go wrong? Yes, things go wrong. I've just seen it. It's not this. It's movie rental table. That's why you can't find that. Thank you, Visual Studio. Okay, it has to be movie ID. And then you close that. Now there's something that we need to also do on the Fluent API, and I want us to handle decimals. Handle decimals to avoid precision loss. The movie has a cost. If you don't handle that, it might truncate something. So we need to take care of that real quick. So let's go back to the context. And we're going to start with the rental table. So get me the model builder. And I want you to give me the entity. And the entity should be rental. Right? And in that rental, give me a property. So has property. If I'm correct, not has, just give me a property. Give me a property. So you call that P. Get me a property code. Within that, I want you to give me a property code. Total cost. Okay, and give it a column type. So has column type. And we just call it decimal to 18.2. Okay, it should be pretty straightforward. All right, and we also have a cost somewhere in the. We also have a cost somewhere in the movie table for the rental cost. So get me the movie entity, and they should throw an error. Nice. It's called the rental cost. So we have linked our relationships here, and we have taken care of the decimals. So what's next? We want to create 4 tables, and here we want to have 1 table for movies. So let's create the other 4. So it's going to be a DB set. You want the one for rental. Call it rentals. Nice. Then you have a prop, a DB set. We have members. So members. Nice. The last one is the wiki entity, which is movie rental. And movie rentals. So at this juncture, we're pretty much done. What's next is for us to create this database. If you remember, if you go to our API, we have where the database resides, and it was called movie rental DB. All right. So what I want us to do now is just to. So I've deleted the migrations folder in the API project. So I will start from scratch. So I want you to go to Tools, and I'm going to go to Package Magic Console and add migration. It's coordination migration, but the name has to be more descriptive. Like added. Okay, let's make it more descriptive. Added movies rental. Something like that. Members, tables. That's why these have to be incremental so that you don't confuse. So that's our migration, and once it builds, it's going to give us over there the snap. Okay, that. So is it showing you what it's going to do? Okay, create table movies, rentals, members, all those. And the last thing you want to do now is to type update database. This will affect the changes in the database. Update database. All right, so it's gonna create for a database. All right, what do we have? We've got an error. This thing sometimes they do happen. It will tell you wrong syntax, English syntax near keyword not. Now, if you're new to these things, you might struggle the whole day. Trust me, you never spend the whole week. But this is my typo, which I had put in it. If you can see this query here, you might take these queries and even put them in your SQL Server Studio. You see here, something is wrong here. Near not. That's wrong. And there's one way where we have actually done that wrong. So I don't know. Can we remove the migration? Is it possible? All right. So that's one thing we've gone wrong. So first of all, you remove that migration, and let's go back to the context. Something I've done wrong, and there it is. So close that and close that. All right. So errors are part of life. All you need is a good attitude, and I want you to restart the process, initial migration, like so. And hopefully this time it's going to go through, and I want you to update database. It succeeded. Let's see. Boom. Our database is created. I want you to go to View, select SQL Server Object Explorer. You see the database is there. I want you to refresh that. Database, movie rental is the one that we're playing with, movie rental. And let's see if those tables are there. All right, great. So we've got 4 tables. So congratulations, we've come to the end of this video. What we've done is we've done our domain model, our domain layer rather, and we've brought in the entities. So the assumption is if I take this domain layer and put it in another application, it's going to work regardless. So if this gives you value and content, please do like, share, and subscribe. And the next video, we're going to play around with the application layer where we're going to actually implement a scenario whereby you can actually rent your movies. So thank you once again. Thank you very much.